Welcome, parents. As a parent, you may be wondering how kids learn how to read. Well, while teaching reading is rocket science, we know a lot about what students need to learn to be successful readers. Let's start with something called the simple view of reading. What you see here in this image is a visualization of that simple view. Decoding times language comprehension equals reading comprehension. Decoding is the ability to apply sound-symbol relationships to read words. Think phonics. Language comprehension is the ability to understand spoken language. This is knowledge and vocabulary. This equation looks like any multiplication problem. If one side is 0, then the total of reading comprehension is 0. Think about a student or even an adult learning another language who can confidently sound out words, but doesn't really know what they mean. Or think about a student who is confident and conversant in the world around them, but can't decipher the sounds of the symbols on the page. Both sides of the equation are essential for reading comprehension. Let's look at a few related studies that help us understand this relationship. In 1988, two young researchers created a replica of a baseball field furnished with wooden figures. The students were handed the same story covering half an inning of made-up baseball and asked to reenact it. Here's the passage that they read. Cherniak swings and hits a low bouncing ball towards the shortstop. Haley comes in, fields it, and throws it to first, but too late. Cherniak is on first with a single. Johnson stayed on third. The next batter is Whitcomb, the Cougars' left fielder. The ball's returned to Clarenson. He gets the sign and winds up and throws a slider that Whitcomb hits between Manfred and Roberts for a hit. Delaney comes in and picks up the ball. Johnson has scored, and Cherniak is headed for third. Here comes the throw, and Cherniak is out. Cherniak argues, but to no avail. So who do you think did the best at reconstructing the story? Perhaps you were tempted to think that strong readers did the best, but in fact, students who understood baseball outperformed those students who were strong readers. Understanding baseball was essential to understanding what was going on in that particular passage. Let's look at another example. Quote, much depended on the two overnight batsmen. But this duo perished either side of the lunch, the latter a little unfortunate to be adjudged leg before, and with Andrew Simons, too, being showed the dreaded finger off an inside edge, the inevitable beckoned, bar the pyrotechnics of Marco Clark and the ninth wicket. Clark clinically cut and drove to 10 fours and 134 ball 81 before he stepped out to crumble to present an easy stumping to Mahendra Singh Dhoni. If you're anything like me, you might not have any idea what happened in this passage. This passage is about the sport of cricket, and unless you're fluent in cricket, the previous passage makes little to no sense. Comprehension is just not a matter of knowing words, and it is certainly not a matter of mastering comprehension strategies. Building knowledge is essential to building reading comprehension. There are still more studies that demonstrate the importance of knowledge for comprehension. This next study was actually a study on oral language with a group of 4-year-olds. Reading aloud, researchers read texts about birds and found significant gaps between lower and higher socioeconomic students in their comprehension. When those same students were given texts about a fictional species called wugs, those gaps in comprehension disappeared. That knowledge is essential to students' ability to comprehend. As you can further see on this slide, while high reading skills and high knowledge students scored the highest on measures of comprehension, students with low reading skills and high knowledge significantly outperformed those students with high reading skills and low knowledge. Building background knowledge is critical to building reading comprehension. Curriculum must ensure students' language comprehension, their knowledge of words, is intentionally grown. Yet another study shows that reading or listening to a series of texts on the same topic can yield as much as 4 times the vocabulary growth. This is done by ensuring the reading material selected for students includes intentionally selected topics to expand their knowledge and is sequenced in an organized way. Unfortunately, many commercially available curricular resources don't build knowledge. Students may encounter a series of disconnected stories that reinforce words they know and don't deliberately expose them to new knowledge on related topics. Quality curricular resources, include the examples you see here, do build knowledge and vocabulary. This text has students encountering vocabulary words that helps expand their knowledge. As you can see, these include more common words such as build, controls, and pumps, along with vocabulary about the human body, such as skeleton, muscles, brain, oxygen, heart, lung, and intestines. This text is then further reinforced with other texts on related topics, both in this grade and across grades. This process of developing broad background knowledge leads to better comprehension. On this slide, you can see a brief illustration of topics that are related across grades. For example, the text we looked at on the last slide is a text from a first grade unit on the human body. This builds on a kindergarten unit on the 5 senses and sets the foundation for a later unit on the human body. High-quality instructional materials that intentionally build knowledge pay careful attention to this deliberate knowledge creation. Slide 13. This deliberate approach to content knowledge happens within grades. This deliberate approach to content knowledge development happens within grades and across grades. Because we know having materials built with evidence-based literacy practices in mind is crucial for student success, we develop materials that are both aligned with this research and the TEKS. These resources are freely available to all Texans. While these robust materials include everything a teacher needs for evidence-based instruction, parents also have access to these resources. Among these resources are family guides. Family guides provide key details and conversation starters to support talking to your student about text. This guide tells you what's going on in the unit of the story, including key knowledge concepts, and helps give you a clear idea of what students will learn. They'll also provide conversation starters to promote continued discussion and learning about the text with your student. You may also choose to supplement your child's in-school reading or independent reading with recorded read-alouds. These read-alouds are available in both English and Spanish. There are still other ways to support your child at home. If possible, read with your child daily. Even 15 minutes of reading together each day can create a huge impact. You can read sections of the text aloud together. If your child struggles, you might try reading the text to them with expression and then have them read it aloud back to you. Find moments to discuss what they're reading and discovering. Examples of questions you can ask include, what stood out to you from today's read? Were any sentences or words confusing? What was your takeaway from the author's passage? What do you think the writer was trying to communicate? Do you agree with the writer's ideas or descriptions? What connections can you make between what you're reading and your own life or other issues? Finally, this suite of resources includes Amplify Reading, which is a supplemental tool you can also use at home. You have access to all materials for both teachers and parents, and can easily access them by registering here on Texas Home Learning. This 5-minute registration will help you immediately gain access to everything you've seen here today. Lastly, keep in mind that the curriculum decisions are local decisions. As you learn more about the science of teaching reading, talk to your school to see what materials they're using. Local policies include requirements to help parents stay informed and involved in instructional materials decisions. To recap, there are many ways to support your child in his or her reading in partnership with your school. Your school can further help you understand what materials they're using to support the science of teaching reading. Reading with your child is another great way to give them extra practice, and you can access free additional tools and resources to provide supplemental supports for your child at home. Your support will mean a lot to your child's literacy education. Thank you for your partnership.